boy Marksburg, Slim, coming live from Charlotte, North Carolina.
Hey, this is Coach Beatty Waddell, West Mac High School.
I'm Doug Rashid. I'm a Grammy-nominated record producer.
Hey, I'm LaKoya McClain. I used to be known as Inmate 1570847.
Hey, my name is Lydia. I'm a social injustice activist.
Hey, it's Danielle E. Brown, songwriter and artist, and we're rocking with Grandosiá TV.
My name is Tiereese Thomas, also known as New York. Here to tell my story. And I'm rocking with Grandosiá TV.
Welcome back to another great show with Grandosiá TV, where I'm here with my man for many years, Tiereese Thomas, like he said, aka New York, and we here to talk about his story. People, he got a great one. But before we get into all that, make sure you subscribe, make sure you like, comment, hit the notification bell so when we go live, you will stay up to date with everything Grandosiá TV got going on. With that being said, New York, what's good with you, fam?
Man, how you doing, man? You already know.
Man, chilling over here, man. You know, once I started doing this show and I started saying, man, people that I can bring on, stories we can tell, stories that we can help people with and keep them out of going through trials and tribulations. I thought about you. I said, he got a story. I remember you, when I first met you, you was here. And then I asked some people that we know, where'd he go? He was gone. Like I didn't know the whole gist of things. I knew you from the people that we, you know, have in common that we know, and I didn't know all the things you were doing. So I was like, all right. So when they told me what it was, I said, okay, I got to really know who my man New York is. So when he come home, I got to talk to him. Well, before we get into that part, man, I want to know about you more. I want the people to know about you before we jump into that side of the story. Where you from? Where you grew up at? What was things like being in New York as a youngster? You said you was there for 17 years before you moved this way. Mm-hmm. So tell me, who is New York?
New York is definitely Tiereese, you know. It was a name I acquired, you know, a little later on. But originally from Brooklyn, New York, Crown Heights area. Pretty much living with my moms and my stepfather, her husband. Can't say I had a hard life, but it wasn't, you know, no silver spoon. My mother went to get it, you know. Biggest inspiration, she went hard, you know. She made sure she got what I needed, you know. But ended up moving down south a little later, had a little time in Sumter, South Carolina. About a 11-month little stay there. Mm-hmm. Town just, you know, it wasn't quite quick enough for, you know, us moving down. So we ended up moving over, you know, closer to family because I got family in Gastonia. So ended up moving in as, you know, elementary ever since, you know.
Gotcha. So in New York, being in Brooklyn, New York, what was that like? Because you said you did, what, 17 years?
Yeah.
So them 17 years, what did the streets of New York, how did it make you? How did it shape you? How did you learn to do life? You know what I'm saying? People say before you come down south, New York is boom, 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 boom. And here it's kind of slower pace. So how did that shape who you are?
Well, I want to, you know, address that for one. Because the South is faster in ways that New York is slow. So, you know, it's a balance of both. So, you know, you can't never discredit one because my grandmother's originally from Bennettsville, South Carolina. My grandfather is from Gastonia. They met in New York, had my mom, and due to a separation, you know, with their relationship, my mother ended up going to college, you know, born and raised in New York, Brooklyn. She ended up going to Morris College in Sumter, South Carolina, HBCU. And that's where she met my father and was, you know, got it on and ended up with me. And my grandmother found out she was pregnant and made her come right back home. Yeah, it was over with. Like, you know, my grandmother is raw and, you know, she believed in, you know, raising your responsibility. And she didn't really want her to get into the Southern life that she escaped, you know, because my grandmother actually graduated from a, you know, all black high school, which I just recently found out. And it's like, dang, you know, segregation wasn't that far away. So, you know, having stories like that around and inside the house, but also being in the fast pace of the city, you know, it was kind of like a balance of the best of both. So, you know, I kind of mastered both, you know, and I ain't gonna say mastered, you know, but I definitely got through, you know.
So you come to Gastonia, you move this way. We're gonna fast forward into you meet a special someone. You had a baby girl. How was that? I mean, how was that relationship? How did that, you know, impact your life?
Oh, definitely. I wouldn't be here now, man, in front of you. It wouldn't be, honestly, probably nothing to interview, you know, if it wasn't for that little girl. Right. That's just keeping it real, because I wasn't, you know, out of situations and things I've been through. Wasn't supposed to be here this long. You know, it was a blessing. So, yeah, she definitely changed my world, though.
So for you, and we're going to jump into it, for you to take the jump to on the vacation stay that you took for a while. What was it, 7 years?
Yeah, it was a 7-year sentence. I had to do right at 6 years on it.
All right. What made you go down that path? Because like I say, when I knew who you was, we was into music. You was like, D, let me get in the studio. What took us through a path of you having to go do 7 years?
Honestly, my mom's had went through a little phase and her health started kind of, you know, getting real shaky to where she was having trouble, you know, maintaining her job. And, you know, bills got tight. I'm my mother's only child, so we were like this, you know what I mean? So I had to, you know, step out there and kind of, you know, I was working a job, but it wasn't enough to really, you know, maintain no household. And then still try to, you know, be a young man growing up. But an opportunity presented itself, and when I jumped in, it was just like, ooh, you know, when you make money so fast, and, you know, that's a big addiction, you know, that's really a big addiction, making money. And, you know, I did it, like I said in the beginning, just to help out with bills and make sure things were straight. And then, you know, having so much extra money, it just kind of was like, man, I might as well do this instead of, you know, work the job.
So how long was you doing this before things got tight for you?
Honestly, it, you know, all my life really has been, I've been a hustler all my life. You know, not just saying drugs. School sold candy. I'm more of a supply and demand kind of guy. So, you know, if I could see a product that could be flipped, then I can get it at a decent price. You know, not, like I said, not just drugs. I'm a salesman of, you know, a lot of things, but it's just, you know, all on the vibe that you're selling somebody yourself pretty much, you know. If somebody can, like, you know, get along with your attitude or, you know, pick up on your vibe, they give you time of day. They'll shop with you. So, you know, it's just not pretty much hustling people, but having a good hustle, supply and demand.
Now, did your mom ever pick up on anything different? I mean, you was working a job and things was tight, but then you jumped out here on this other venture and you got extra money, you paying everything. Did she ever pick up on the game and like, hold on, New York, what you doing out here? Did she ever come and talk to you like, baby, just be careful?
Honestly, at first, you know, I might have kind of got through a little bit, but like I said, with, you know, at the size, you know what I mean, what I came into, it was just like, just to keep it real, it was hard to hide after a while. And I think she really kind of knew, but she was just kind of letting me, you know, grow up, you know, and then, you know, the reasons I was doing it for, I guess, but, you know, if she would have really caught wind and knew solidly, nah, she wouldn't have been with it.
How old were you at the time?
Well, when I caught my charge, I was 21.
Now, was your father around doing any of this time period?
Well, actually, him and her kind of had a little, you know, I was raised, I got to say this because I was raised with another fella, you know, all my life. And then, you know, she introduced me to my biological after 17 years, you know what I mean? So it was just like, he was into some stuff and really was running around. He was a DJ back in the day. So, you know, I got 6 siblings from my father, and we all have different mothers. He was a Rolling Stone, DJ Roller Master, you know, and then I'm the only child of my mom. So, you know, you see where's the gap where I got siblings, then it's just me. But we were so close, you know. I think she kind of, you know, honestly, in my heart, I think she knew, but she was trying to let me grow up. So,
Gotcha. I understand that. Sometimes, you know, parents let you go through things so you would know. But describe to us, man. Describe to the audience, man, the night it all went wrong.
oh man,
What happened? What was you located at? You know, what
I was
happened?
in Georgia. I was in Atlanta, Georgia, Latonia, and pretty much it was supposed to be a routine trip, you know, in and out, going to get it, right up the road.
3-hour drive, 4-hour drive.
Nah, 3. It's
3-hour drive.
And then, you know, doing the speed limit sometimes, you know, give or take with traffic. But, man, it was an odd day. You know, I really, you know, didn't want to wait till the next morning. I wanted the round robin, you know, come in and go out. But I ended up staying the night and actually went to Magic City, you know. You know, had an experience at Magic City that night. But coming back down the road, you know, it was just, you know, a trip. I'm by myself, so I'm riding. And as I'm riding, I'm going 85 north on my way back, you know, towards Gastonia. And I get to the South Carolina point where, you know, you start passing Greenville, and I get to around Anderson. And as I'm riding, still going north in the median, you know, how you could see through. They had the little part, you know, the gaps. And I seen a sheriff car coming south, which I thought nothing of it. Because, you know, he on the other side of the highway.
Right. You on speed limit this time? Okay.
Oh, I been was doing that. I was cruise controlling.
Gotcha.
But, yeah, he loops around. So, you know, that was kind of weird. And I'm like, at this time, I'm like, okay, I'm all right. But I noticed when I've been riding, you know, it really wasn't too many black guys riding, you know, and definitely my age, because I was only 21 at the time. And, you know, I stood out, I felt, you know.
How far you have?
I think I was in the Maximum, I believe it was. Silver Maximum. But he jumped in the middle lane. I was in between 2 cars, and he hit his lights. So the car behind me immediately, you know, started to pull back, and that's when he jumped behind me. And you, of course, know the story. You know, your heart starts to, you know, feel like you beating out your chest. See, I've never been arrested before, so you know, never been caught in anything. So you know, at this time, I'm like, in my head, just play it cool. You know, I got license, everything on the car, okay, and you know, we're gonna go from there. He came to the passenger side window and said he pulled me over for speeding, and I'm like, hold on, I was just cruise control, and it was only 2 miles over. Right. You know, just to move with the traffic I was in between. And then that's when he proceeded to say, well, that's still speeding, but I'm gonna write you a warning ticket. And me not really knowing the law at the time, not getting out your car, you don't have to. He you know, told me, you know, being that it's, you know, kind of dangerous out here, it'd be good if I step out to get a ticket, you know, get my ticket and, you know, sit in the car with him. So I'm like, I don't want to sit in the back of no police car, you know, why you know, what I'm gonna do that for? Right. But then he's like, nah, you're gonna be in the passenger side. And, you know, I've once before, you know, gotten a ticket, but I had somebody in the passenger side. So that's why I got out and got the ticket. So, you know, I'm thinking the same thing. You know?
So as long as somebody's in the car with you.
Yeah, then I can see, yeah. But me being by myself, you know, I'm just thinking, okay, you know, like I said, license legit, everything on the car legit. I go sit in the passenger side. He's, you know, on his clipboard writing, trying to make small talk. And at this time, you know, he probably knew I was probably scared, you know, young black guy, you know, never been in trouble before, you know, caught up on the highway, know what's in the car, you know, so it's just like.
Was it in the back seat or was it in the trunk?
It was in a little spot that was up under the seat, you know, up under the passenger side seat. But, you know, you just couldn't go in the car and just find it. Like, you know, you would have to fumble and, you know, unscrew some things. But, yeah, he go to proceed to write in the ticket, and then another officer, which I didn't even pay no attention, pulled up. It was another sheriff. He pulled up and he was standing at the passenger side window. So now at this point, I'm like, this is weird, but he was talking about something in his personal life about his wife, which at this point now I know it was just a scheme to get in. But, as he was writing, once the other officer stood there for a minute, he stopped writing the ticket and he turned to me and he said, we are all, only do traffic violations. We also look for the traffic and the drugs. So I look at him and I go, well, you didn't pull me over for that, I'm just trying to get my ticket and go, and at the time I pushed the time, I told my baby mother, because she was pregnant at the time.
Gotcha.
And I was like, my baby mother going into premature labor, so if I was going a little fast, the 1 or 2 miles, that's the reason why I'm trying to get back, so this way I can get to her. Right. And, just trying to, make it seem like that's the only reason why I was at Hayes. From that point, they said, well, you shouldn't have no problem with us, wanting to search the car real quick. And I go, well, you didn't pull me over for all that, wasn't no suspicion, so no. I had rights, and not to let you do that when you're pulling me over for. And at that point, he got out anyway, and he had a dog in the back. So I had a little bit of, little bag of weed on me. It was some good weed, though. Yeah, it was something I had grabbed in Atlanta, but it was, like really loud, but I made sure that I really, bagged it up a couple times before I hit the road. And, I didn't smoke no weed on the road. So now one thing I did have, I had a half a blunt in the smokeless ashtray, but I kept the out spray to, deodorize the car. So I'm not trying to move because the dog in the back, and I don't know if he's going to go crazy because, the scent of the weed, because I got it stuffed in, my crotch or whatever. Right. So he get the dog out the car, let him stretch, he used the bathroom, and then he walked him around the car. The dog got all the way he started from the bumper of the front passenger side, and then he went around the driver back, back. As soon as the dog got to the passenger side.
Went crazy.
No, they don't go crazy. The indication is for the dog to sit down.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, everybody think when the dog finds drugs, they go crazy, barking, scratching. No, they sit down. That's the indication. They look up at the officer. Normally the officer has a little toy and he throws it to the ground. And that's what happened. The dog came up to the passenger side, sniffed, and Fido sat down. Fido sat down on me. And then the officer threw the toy, then he came back to the window and said, you sure you don't got nothing in the car? And at this point, I'm like, no. And he was like, well, do you mind if we search? I'm going to ask you again. And I'm like, no. And he said, well, we're going to search it anyway because we got probable cause. And they went in the car and, first thing they pull out was the ashtray. So I told you the half a blunt was in there. So me trying to think quick on my toes was like, all right, man, I smoke weed. And they was like, well, where is that? I was like, you got to get me out the car. So they looking at each other like, oh, he got it on him the whole time or whatever. But they come and pop the door. I had been asking for my hoodie out the car because they had the AC blasting in the car. And at this time, I may have been 189 pounds. So the AC had kind of got to me. So when they went to bring me the jacket, they also, was only supposed to do a pat down. But he ended up, just kind of, manhandling me. I had shorts on and it fell, out the area or whatever. Right. And then, at this point, I'm trying to play off like, this is what the dog may have smelled, maybe y'all can write me this little ticket or whatever and I go my way, but they wasn't done. So, they cuffed me. I mean, I wasn't cuffed at the time. They let me get my jacket. They got the reefer sitting on the windshield right there in front of me. So as I'm sitting in the car, I'm looking straight at, the car in front of me in the bag. Right. So, and I'm, trying to play it off like, man, y'all already got what it was, y'all wasting y'all time. And from that point, the officer that was standing outside the car, the second one that pulled up, he went to hitting his radio and asking about stash boxes, and it was some kind of program they had named after a dude, and he gave her the model of the car, and she came back and said affirmative. He asked about the floorboard, and that's when they went to fumbling around, and they actually took the whole passenger side seat out the car. And once he found it, he came out the car, and he looked and said, "Cuff him." And the officer that was standing outside, he just grabbed me out the car and slammed me to the ground. And he came down on my side with his knee, and by this time the other officer ran over and he came down on my neck. So I'm like, yo, why is y'all doing all this? Right. You know, he said, "'Cause you lied." And I'm like, "But I'm not resisting or fighting y'all." He said, "But you lied." And they told me to shut up and need me again. So
Was it black cops or white cops?
No, they were Caucasian officers.
Gotcha.
You know, so, you know, they kind of roughed me up and they sit me in the grass, and, you know, he went and got his little manila envelope, and, you know, he pulled out it was a whole kilo. And he pulled out the whole thing and, you know, stuffed it in the envelope, and he finally got me up and put me back in the passenger side again. And, you know, now they, you know, go to asking questions and, you know, who you work for, where you get it. And at this point, you know, once they read me my Miranda, I just got quiet. And, you know, just to keep it real, and most people won't, I kept quiet to keep from crying, because I ain't never been in no trouble, you know what I mean? So I wasn't about to show no weakness, you know, that's one thing about it. So I just shut up, you know what I mean? And they asked me all kind of questions, and they just looked at me. And the second officer that pulled up, you know, they was trying to call some kind of, I guess, some other kind of interrogation squad or crew or whatever they had, but they was tied up somewhere else. So after a while of waiting, they was just like, you know, the second officer, like, "I'm just going to take him in and book him." So he get me out. He also had a dog, so he put me in his passenger seat. And as he taking me, you know, he's still trying to ask me little questions, because, you know, they tried to offer everything. You can still keep making the run, or you can do this, that, and the third, and just tell them you had to use the bathroom and, you know, take a poop, and you can continue to go. And, you know, they was trying to get me to do everything, and I just kept looking at these guys like, y'all stupid. You know, where I'm from, how I was raised, you know, your whole hood, your family, everybody discredits you, you know. Snitches get stitches. You know the terms from New York, you know, but it's just like a big thing for not ratting. You know, sometimes you got a few rats, you know, that, you know, squeak through, but when you come from a culture of minding your business and going your way. So that's the difference, I will say, between the North and the South. You know, the South know your first and last name. In the North, people just know your nickname, you know, and keep moving, you know what I mean? So, you know, he, you know, driving, and he just asking question after question. And then he got to a point, he was like, "If you want me to just shut the F up, just tell me, shut the F up." And this is the only time I said something. And I looked at him, I was like, "Why? You ain't disrespect me. Why I gotta tell you to shut the F up?" And then I just turned my head back straight, you know what I mean? And then he went to, you know, trying to play the pity role. "You seem like a good kid, just caught up in the wrong situation." And then da-da-da-da-da. And I'm like, man, let's just go. And at this point, you know, I'm really, you know, getting my mind set that it ain't no telling where I'm about to get out. Ain't no telling how high this bar gonna be. Ain't no telling. You know what I mean? But
You have any money on you?
yeah, I had $997 exact, and I actually had a little bit of change. I think it was like 50 cents in my wallet. But you know, moms always say, you know, you got to keep that, you know, phone call money just in case of emergency, you know. But yeah, they took all that. I got in there, and they was like, "Man, you got to sign it over, or we gonna get it anyway." And I'm like, man, you know, I had more than that, but, you know, most of that was still with the strippers in Magic City the night before. So, you know, you know what I mean? It was just like, you know, okay. And then, you know, he booked me in, and then I ran into a big problem. I ain't remember hardly nobody phone number.
That's a problem. What year was this?
This was back in 2007.
So this is probably before the iPhone.
Oh, it wasn't no touchscreen. These was all flip phones, and we was bleep bleep. We was on Nextel chirp. Don't hit me on that Nextel chirp. But yeah, you know, flip phones was still out. There wasn't no iPhones. Wasn't no GPS. You know, it was just a lot different. So, you know, remembering people numbers off the head was kind of crazy.
Right.
I actually remember one of my homegirls back in South Carolina. I remember her number. So I called her and was like, yo, I need you to try to get in touch with my mom. You know what I mean? Or somebody, you know, I really don't want to call my mom's, but at this point,
I need her.
yeah, it ain't that I need her. I got to get the word out. You know what I mean? That I'm messed up, you know, right now. And I really didn't get in touch with nobody. So, you know, they got me in the little holding cell. It was a couple of the state inmates that had became trustees. They even came out and was trying to help me. And I had one of them call my godmother in New York. And I'm not sure, but at the time, you know, my people that I was playing with, I think they had kind of caught wind. And, you know, I guess they went to looking up and they found me, you know, where I was at, Anderson County. So, you know, I stayed in there.
Right in the little spot where.
Yeah. It's all in that area, that upstate of South Carolina. But got in there and they put me in the room with a cat. Well, I go before the judge. You know, I ended up staying in there a night. And, you know, when I seen the judge the next morning, my bond was only, you know, crazily $36,000. So at this point, I'm like, you know, that seemed like a lot to me, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And they're like, yo, you know, I need $3,600 to get out. And I'm like, okay, you know, I never been through this, never been in trouble, never been arrested. So they put me, finally, you know, I can get in touch with nobody, so they just go ahead and dress me out and put me in the B pod. I remember this, because I'm like, everybody else that was getting their bands on their wrist, they was getting yellow, green. They came to me with a red band, so I'm like, you know why I gotta get a red band? You know, everybody else, and I'm like, yo, what the red band mean? You know, they was like, oh, you going to the B pod, that's where the killers and stuff at. So I'm like, why they putting the drug dealer with the killers? But I'm like, it is what it is, you know, at this point. And, you know, I just got to get in touch with somebody. Don't know how. And I know it's phones in the block, so that's where I want to get to. So they put me in there. It was a cat from Virginia. He had been locked up, you know, with some drugs, too. And his bond was a lot higher. It was $127,000. So he looking at me like, why your bond so low? And I'm looking at him like, shit, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like... And then we got to talking, and he was from Virginia. He tried to run before they caught him. So, you know, I had to look at him like, well, my license South Carolina. So maybe that's why and that's what it turned out to be. My license I keep with South Carolina at the time, so it made me a resident of the state, which didn't make me have to, you know, go through like interstate compact. You know, I didn't have to go back to Georgia and do their time, so it kind of kept me grounded in the area. Had I made it into North Carolina, I probably would have had to do both. You know, so it, you know, kind of kept me, and then I never had a record. So, you know, a nobody, you know, coming in the first time, it depends. You know, I would have had to be on like a murder or, you know, something that was so major they didn't want to let me go. Gotcha. But he was a flight risk, so that's why his bond was higher. So we just sitting in there, and then, you know, he trying to show me the ropes. By this time, dinner coming out. Man, we get in there, and I ain't gonna front, I'm a little hungry at this time, so I'm like, man. So I see, you know, the other cats, and, you know, my roommate then pointed out, you know, oh, he in here for a body, he in here for a body, he in here for some drugs. It was actually a cat from Shelby that was in there that was trying to talk to me. I think him and his old lady had got locked up with some drugs. I don't, you know, remember his name or nothing. But, you know, he was like, yo, don't really tell nobody, you know, too much, because, you know, people building cases in here. Yeah. And I'm like, you know, bet. You know, I took that, you know, stored that in the memory bank, and we got out there, and boy, I tried to eat the little spaghetti on the plate. No seasoning. No. I was like, oh. So I just pushed the tray back, and after a while, the guys was like, you ain't gonna eat that? And I'm like, nah, you can get that. And before I knew it, they was damn near fighting over the tray to get the spaghetti. I was like, no, this can't be, you know, but damn, you know, this is about to be me in this mug. You know what I mean? So my side of the part had to be locked back down by this time. So I go get back in there with my roommate. He trying to offer me stuff, you know, I know you probably gonna get some money later on, but if you, and I'm like, nah, I'm good, man, I don't want that.
That means you belong to him.
No, I at this point, I ain't taking nothing from nobody. You know what I mean? I don't even know about that part yet, you know, about the honey bun and the, you know, the strawberry cookies and stuff. You know, I don't know nothing about that. But, actually, you know, we were sitting there chatting, and the officer came to the door. And, you know, in my mind, I'm like, damn, you know, getting caught with a brick, I'm thinking feds coming, you know. And the officer came to the door. He go, Mr. Thomas. And I go, what's up? He said, I got some bad news for you. So I just look at him and say, what, the feds coming to get me? And he looked at me, he go, no, you made bond. So when he said that, he's like, pack your stuff up. My roommate instantly looked at me and said, man, who you playing with, man? Who's your people? Like, y'all big time for real. And I'm like, it is what it is, you know what I mean? And I ended up giving them the little kit that I got with the washcloth, the soap. I left it with them. And at this point, I still think it's a game. Like, ain't nobody made that bond for me. You know what I mean? Ain't nobody really.
3,600?
Yeah, but I'm still thinking like this far-fetched money, even though, we play around and waste it. But, it's far-fetched money to get somebody out of jail. And then, you don't know who's watching.
Right.
But they gave me my clothes. At the time, I smoked Newports. I had a fresh box in my pocket. So, that's how I was thinking about, boy, I'm about to fire one of these mugs up. If they outside waiting for me, I'm at least light one up before, and make moves. So I get outside, fire one up. I don't see nobody. And I'm like, damn, so what's going on? I'm lost now. Who bonded me out? Right. So long story short, I end up start trying to walk, and then a lady pulled up in the car who actually, it was the bond lady or whatever, bondsman. She got me back, took my picture and my name and, told me my mother was on the way. They had been in a little fender bender on the highway. So she actually, let me get in the car and she, drove me to the store and my mother met her there. So when she hop out, I'm kind of embarrassed, like, damn, I didn't let my mother down because, I didn't went this long, 21, and now I'm in some trouble. But I look at her and I'm like, yo, she hugged me. And in her ear, I whisper, I say, I got to ride all the way with this one. And my mother, kind of propped me back and was like, of course, I ain't raised no bitch.
Right.
And she embraced me back, She said, we going to get through this no matter what. And, she stuck to it. Yeah, she stuck to it.
Now, quick question for you before we go forward with it. We gonna double back for a second. Do you feel like, hindsight 2020 though, do you feel like if you didn't go to Magic City, you'd have been pulled over?
Honestly, I feel things would have went smoother, but I look at it like this, because of all the accounts of my life, where would I have been had I had a longer run? I could have been in a deeper pot, I could have been messed up with a different circle, because we already know, what goes around, for a lot, with, get caught up in a situation that can't hold water. In this, situation, I was content, but had I not went out that night, I feel, I probably would have been okay. But then, like I said, ain't no telling what mess I would have progressed to go on. It could have been a deeper hole after that.
Yeah. So you get bonded out. What happens next after that? What's the next step? Do you get a court date? Do you get a lawyer? What happens after that?
Well, it started off with trying to shop for a lawyer. And so, I tried a few in like different towns, like something where it was supposed to be good drug attorneys. Everybody was talking. I had one lawyer off the rip told me $50,000. And I said,
He thought you were a drug dealer, that's why?
Pretty much what I got locked up with, he figured if I had that, it was, some more behind it. They don't want to hear no backstory. Right. It's just, this what I want. And then I asked him, I said, so if I come up with $50,000, what are you promising me? He said, well, I'm not really from Anderson, so I have to, go up to their circuit, but you'll do no more than 10 years. So I'm like, he said, well, we could talk about it more, but it'll cost you $50 to come in and see me. I said, clip. I talked to another one. He was talking about 30.
30 what?
Thousand.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay, it's still high, but
Cheaper than 50.
you know what I mean? It's going down. Got to keep, looking around. So, at this time, like I said, it's phone books. So we looking through the phone books or trying to go to the library and use the internet. Because, it was desktops, really. Just, a lot of different ways. You can do a little something on your phone by this time, but it wasn't major, So finally get to one. And he was actually from Anderson. it was kind of sketchy because, you know, lawyers like that from the town grew up with, you know, the prosecutors and, you know what I mean? They work hand in hand, but he was talking about $10,000. And, you know, I had to take that one because it was kind of, he didn't really promise me anything, but he was like, you know, definitely I wouldn't probably be doing the max, being that was my first time.
And the max is what?
Well, it was a mandatory, you know, it would have been a minimum, it was minimum 7, max 25. And it was just like, dang, you know, even if I ain't been in no trouble, he said, man, you got caught with a lot of stuff, you know. You know what I mean? Then you got caught with something different. So I went to court for about it. I stayed on bond for about a year and a half. Like I said, my daughter was born during that time because this happened in 2007.
So you got to see her be born.
Yeah, I got to see her be born. I actually got the first one she was 10 months old when I actually had to go serve the time. So, you know, I tried to get out a little longer because my mother was supposed to have a colostomy bag surgery, reversal. And, you know, I'm my only child. So, you know, I even had the doctors write up, you know, whole thing saying that she needed somebody to be with her. But, you know, they only let me stay out till June 25th of 2008. My birthday is July 9th, and my daughter's birthday was July 25th, which I wanted to make, you know, at least make her first birthday. Right. You know what I mean? Then, you know, I at least had that part, you know, be able to go, but they wasn't trying to feel me, you know. And like I said, back and forth going to court for the year and a half. And I went to court one day. I think the lawyer tried to play with me. But get to court one day. It was one guy, he had was standing before the judge. He had an armed robbery. I think it was a grocery store. And he had some counts of kidnapping. He got 30 years right there in front of him. Then there was another guy came behind him. He got 20 years. And then there was another guy that came up. He got 15 years. So at this point, I was by myself. You know, usually I have somebody ride the court with me. So at this point, I'm turning my cell phone back on like, yo, if he think I'm going before this judge, I'm going to tell him I got to use the bathroom and they're going to have to come catch me. Because there ain't no way I'm leaving like this. And then, you know, I got a vehicle down here. You know what I mean? It's just all kind of stuff that's going to be a big inconvenience. My mother, like I said, she had the colostomy bag, so she couldn't travel with me. My father had came back at the time. He was with her. So, you know, I was dolo. So, you know, I'm sitting there. And finally, the lawyer looked at me. He go, what you still doing here? And I'm like, you never told me to leave. I could leave. So he go, oh, you don't have to be here today. I said, I ain't going in front of this judge when I do come back, though, right? He was like, maybe, I don't know. So it's just the way he did it in there. I went home. He called me. He asked me, did I know any names of anybody? And I flipped on him because I told him I'd fire him. You my lawyer. Why do I need to tell if you represent me? I kind of, you know, really got, I ain't going to say bold, but I spoke my mind, you know, on how I felt.
So he wanted you to snitch on people?
Pretty much. You know, he was asking me, did I know anybody's names? And I'm like, yo, you don't ever, you know, ask me nothing like that. You know what I mean? Like, for real, like, we'll fall out, I'll fire you, and you can give me my money back. And, you know what I mean? Went to that extent. And then he was like, nah, Mr. Thomas, it's not necessary. I'm just trying to help you, this, that, and the third. So a couple weeks go by, and I get a call. And it's him. And he like, Mr. Thomas, you know, I worked out something to where they offering 7 years, being that you don't have no history, never been in trouble. So I said, 7 years, man. I'm like, man, you can't do no less than that. I said, man, I got a brand new baby, all that, you know, I'm trying to, you know, see raised or whatever. Like, you know, that's a lot of time. He go, nah, that's all they offering, and that's the minimum. And he was like, you don't, you know, it might not be good for you to go in front of, you know, take it to trial. And, you know, even though at this time, he's not telling me some of the stuff that, you know, and I found out some stuff later on after doing law work. They never turned in any of the work that I got caught with.
Oh, no, they haven't.
Yeah, because after doing my law work, I sent letters to ask, you know, what was a chemical analysis. I wanted to know exactly how much was cocaine, what might have been cut, because they were supposed to give a breakdown through the, you know, head of SLED, which is in Columbia. I'm not in their database. I had to send 2 different letters before they finally told me I had to get in touch back with Anderson. So what I got locked up with, where did it go? But, you know, like I said, new to it, I could have possibly took it to trial. Maybe I would have lost, maybe I would have won. Don't know.
Well, it probably would have popped. Well, watching, and I know this ain't comparing to what you went through, but just watching stuff on TV, it just seemed like if you'd have went to trial, they'd have made it pop up because you didn't go to trial.
Yeah,
It
disappeared.
It disappeared with the money and everything.
I feel they
else.
split it up amongst themselves
And did something with it.
Yeah, they shared that. The judge,
they probably got some boys,
the lawyer,
selling stuff.
the prosecutor,
Yeah,
they all snorted it. I don't care what nobody said. It went somewhere, but so I tell him I got to call him back. You know, I need to talk to my family. So I hang up and I talk to my mom, and you know, she like, whoa, you know, because it's like it's finally coming into reality now. Like this time is here for him to, you know, have to go. Mm-hmm. And the whole time I've been out on bond, like we never told my grandmother that resides still in New York. We never told her I was in trouble.
That's the same one that snatched your mom out of school.
Yeah. So, you know, she don't know I'm in trouble the whole time. So I'm like, you got to call her because I can't do it. And like we both almost pushing the phone back, like, you know. And then finally she break down, call her, bust out crying. And like, Tiereese got to do just about 6 years off her 7-year sentence. So my grandmother break down and she's like, well, I got some money saved up. We can get him a lawyer. And at this time, we're like, Grandma, we done been through that, you know. And she's like, well, what can we do? You know, she coming in ready to work. And it's like, Grandma, it's too late. So she got upset with us, like, yo, so y'all didn't tell me the whole time? And I'm like, yeah, we didn't know how to tell you, Grandma. Like, you know, I'm your only grandchild. So, you know, you don't want to hear nothing rough on that. And it was just, you know what I mean? It was just like a haze. And then my brother actually, you know, God bless the day, he passed away before I actually got out of prison. But it was him and my biological father, God bless the dead. But we went to court that morning and I went in, you know, chest out, head up, ready to accept the, you know, responsibility for the, you know, for the consequence. You know, I was ready to accept them for the actions. So got in there and, you know, the judge pulled his glasses off and he go, how do you go from nobody to big time? Because I didn't have a record. So, and he just gave me the minimum 7. And with me having the paperwork for my mother's surgery, they gave me 3 weeks, you know, to turn myself in, but I had to sign the plea. Gotcha. And he told me if I didn't, you know, turn myself in on the day, I'd be considered fleeing from justice and I would have, you know, been charged outside. I still had the 7 years outside of what else they would have put on top of it. So, you know, I ain't playing with it. And, you know, I do want to be out for my daughter's birthday, but I don't want to make it no worse to where I'm going longer. So I walked out, I turned, and it was just like slow motion. Because it's like everybody's eyes was looking at the time like, yo, he just got 7 years. And he walking out and didn't cry, didn't budge. So I walk out, my father crying, my brother crying. The bondsman, Ed, came up, me and her kind of got close. With me coming, you know, she making sure I'm coming to court or whatever, but we got close because she seen, you know, I was pretty good. You know, I'm a good dude. But, you know, she's out there crying. So I look at everybody and I'm going, what y'all crying for? You know, 7 years, it could have been worse. And I'm like, y'all, let me go use the bathroom. And as I go in the bathroom, go in the stall, and it was the waterworks, and I ain't even gonna lie, it was waterworks. And then, you know, I slapped myself once or twice, said, get it right. You know, you can't let them see you like that. So, you know, I went to the, you know, sink, splashed my face. And I walked out, like I said, chest high. You know what I mean, chest out, head up. I didn't have to, you know, tell on nobody. I didn't, you know what I mean, have to go another route. I actually got to ride it out, you know what I mean? So it meant something, but it didn't mean nothing with me leaving, you know? So it was just like, yo, I did it, but it ain't no reward for it. But, you know, like I said, it is a reward because nobody could pick at my daughter. Nobody could pick me. You already know with the last little scenes of paperwork coming out, like I sit in enjoyment to see who on it because I know I'm not on it. Right. Got caught with 36 ounces and I know I'm not on the paperwork. Nobody could ever say I was on the Rule 5, aka motion of discovery, what it's called. You know what I mean, by the way. But it's just you know, it's something I had to go through, you know, part of my process. Rites of passage.